Well, cool. I'll let some more people come in, but we can go ahead and get started. Really excited today to have John, CEO of Zonguru, here with us. John's background, he's a successful entrepreneur, an Amazon thought leader. He spent 15 years working as an account director and strategist for some of the top digital agency in Johannesburg, London, Los Angeles before starting his own business. John started an Amazon journey in 2014, launching multiple successful private label brands, and soon after co-founding Zonguru with Adam Hudson of Reliable Education. Their main goal with Zonguru was not only to solve the issue they had come across as sellers themselves, but to have the tools available all in one place. Zonguru continues to launch tools ahead of the market and uses data-driven techniques to help its customers create and run successful private label businesses on Amazon. I am quite familiar, obviously, with you all as launching several brands myself, as a co-founder of Gembah, and also a previous startup of PrideBites. So we've had a lot of experience there. So really pumped today to talk to you, John. Thanks for taking the time, and look forward to hearing more. But yeah, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks to be on here. I'm actually super excited by today. You know, I think I met with you guys, connected with you guys maybe a year ago, and yeah, I always had a good feeling connected with you guys because it's something that I'm really passionate about, and that's kind of when I got into selling on Amazon. Was, you know, I'd been in the advertising world for a long time, and you know, the opportunity to kind of start my own brand and launch that on Amazon was super exciting, but also just the ability to create like a super cool product, you know, differentiated, and have this real cool brand that I'm proud of, and launch that on Amazon was awesome. So, you know, the whole idea of product design and brand design and all the kind of things that you guys are also really, really good at, and, you know, working with manufacturers and, you know, how do you differentiate in a smart way? All of those kind of things are super important to me, and I'm passionate about them. So yeah, I'm excited to talk to this audience because you guys get, you know, product design, you know, product manufacturing and differentiation, everything that goes with it. So super cool.
Awesome. We appreciate it very much. So yeah, tell us about more about how we can be better at market research.
Yeah. So I think what I wanted to cover today, because again, the audience we're speaking to is really focused on our product research tools, but most importantly, you know, I always say data is 50% of the solution, right? You need data to be able to inform your decisions and your decision making. That's obviously completely important. But the other side of it is obviously your business acumen. What do you do with that data? And how do you make the right decisions for your business? And clearly, product research is a super important area, because, you know, whatever you decide in terms of, hey, this is a great product that I want to launch on Amazon, as your start, let's say it's Amazon, right? You can go beyond, but as a start, like how do you actually validate that idea so that, you know, all the time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears that you spend over the next 6 months to a year creating that product and launching it, that you actually launch something that has true potential of doing awesome. You know, so it's a really critical decision to make, and the way we've approached it is really about asking some very key business questions. There's 4 of them, and there's a 5th one I'll show you guys in a minute, but we answer those from a business perspective with data so that you can be informed and make the right decisions. So that's how we kind of approach data, but making sure we ask the right questions so that you guys can be confident about the product that you go with. So what I want to cover today as we walk through is one, you know, Amazon today, what is it about? How do you find a product? It's really about, you know, it used to be about the niche. Now it's really about the super niche. So, you know, how do you really drill in, peel back the layers, and find that super targeted audience and super niche product to sell on Amazon.com, right? So I want to talk a bit about that, and then I want to really talk about some of the emerging marketplaces that we see, you know, and because of the pandemic and everything that's happening, this explosion of online, the opportunities on some of the emerging markets. If you're market agnostic, it's certainly pretty awesome to look at some of the opportunities in the markets. I'm going to jump in and show you a little bit of that as well.
Awesome.
Cool. So, you know, the first thing I just wanted to cover here is, we talk about it, but it's always good to see some of the data. And this is, 2019, end of 2019, right? Going into 2020 when the pandemic starts. And you can see this quote here, I think it was McKinsey or something, but if you're feeling whiplash, it might be 10 years we forwarded in just 90 days. So the growth explosion of e-commerce in the US was just insane. It peaked out a little bit going to 2020, but obviously just another level, right? We're at least 5 years ahead of where we potentially could have been because of this pandemic. And we're seeing that happen now in other marketplaces, like, even, sad to say, but with what's happening in India right now, we're watching that data, and the explosion of e-commerce in India is just insane. This one on the right-hand side is just really showing that crossover in 2021 between retail, retail e-commerce and retail brick and mortar. And when a few years back when we were dealing with Amazon and Amazon Europe, Amazon UK was doing okay, Amazon Germany was doing great, but all the other brick and mortar markets like France, Spain, ones that are already Italy, ones that are already traditionally brick and mortar, and they kind of really love to own that whole retail experience. Just by necessity, they've all moved onto .com and Amazon, and it's just the explosion and the potential of those markets now is actually very, very real. You can make some amazing revenue in those countries. So it's just interesting when you start to look globally and what Amazon is doing, and they're not stopping. They're going and opening new markets. Like how do products look across them?
And John, so the one I want to, from perspective, sorry to interrupt.
No, jump in anytime. Yeah.
So I mean, is this the new norm? Are we seeing a new norm? Is this now the floor? Are we moving past this in terms of e-commerce and adaptation, or what are you thinking now?
I don't even think we're seeing the norm yet. I think if you look at India, e-commerce sales right now is 3% of retail, and Amazon is going nuts over there. So if you imagine that's 3% and it starts growing, like that's just going to be it's going to be another China, for sure. That's just one of those marketplaces. But yeah, I think it's beyond the new norm, and I think it's just going to continue. And Australia is one we've looked at very closely, and when you see what's happened on Amazon.com here in the US, and now looking at what they've got, this amazing business model, and they've gone into Amazon Australia. I'm kind of killing some of my slides, but that's okay. It's the fastest growing marketplace, Amazon marketplace in the world is Amazon Australia. They know exactly how to do that. They know how to crush all competition, and they know most importantly about how to get consumers onto their platform. The take up there is awesome. They just passed $1 billion, and it's the fastest growing company again. And the opportunity is massive there, and it's just that it's kind of like 2020 vision. You can just see what they've done in .com, and it's happening everywhere else. So it's awesome right now. But yeah, I think when you just going back to that amount of traffic, especially if you're looking at Amazon.com, it's so competitive. There's so much traffic. You really have to look at a super niche, so it's a niche within a niche within a niche, and you need data to be able to pull that back and actually kind of find that product. Gone are the days where you could go and launch I don't know, I'll show you this in a second, but like a water bottle, right? That's just gone, because unless you're like a massive a brand who's got a major retail platform already. If you're an SMB, like a smaller business person going into Amazon, you really have to be a niche. Otherwise, your capital and your competition and who you're competing with is just almost impossible, right? So, anyway, that's kind of what we need to look at from a data perspective. And going back to what I was talking about, like how do we actually validate that super niche? There's 4 key questions that we ask ourselves using data, and going back to the business questions. And we have this thing called the niche score, which you see on the left hand side here. It's kind of known as the rainbow, because we actually break it into 4 different kind of rainbow lines depending on what the score is. And that's very valuable in helping you to very quickly validate a niche. So when we look at a product, and when I say a niche, it's like you typing in a buy keyword like water bottle into Amazon, what products come up on page 1 and page 2. How do you validate that niche and say, hey, is this worthwhile going into or not? Mm-hmm. And these are the questions we ask. The first one, the orange line, is demand. How much demand is there for the product? We all know if you're selling on Amazon, there has to be some demand already for that product. So how much demand, but not too much demand, right? It's all a balance. How much competition is great, and it's good to have some competition, but not too much competition. So what's the competition opportunity? The third is how much capital do we need? This is all about business, right? Like how much money do we need to be able to buy enough stock to sell at the velocity of page one and be able to reorder before we run out, right? That's critical. So you've got to understand how much money you need to really compete, right? Because we all want to compete on page one. And then finally, it's profit opportunity. So anything that we sell, it's all about what's left over. It's not what the turnover is, what's left over. It's how much margin. And can I actually make some decent money with this product? And that's a balance between how many sales you can do and actually how much margin you have for that product. So these are the 4 questions we ask on any niche that we need to validate. And then the 5th one, which you guys are obviously super close with, is differentiation. And that's that other side of the coin, right? That's the business acumen. It's like, once, before I even look at any data on a page, I look at the opportunity on the page. I look at the products and I start to think, how can I make this stand out from the rest? How can I connect better with my audience? And how do I differentiate that? And we have some tools that can help with differentiation as well. But, it's important to differentiate, and critically important is not to overcapitalize. That's a really important point. I'm sure you would agree with that. But, you get so many people who want to differentiate and they have these amazing box ideas and product changes and tool changes. That's a major investment. And when you look at that on your margins, you've got to make sure that makes sense. So get that right. Anyway, so these are
you have to go in a specific order. Can I start with, or do I start with one? And if it doesn't check off, do I not go to the next? Or is it, all, I have to get all 5, or how do you look at that?
Yeah, it's all 4, right? Because I think it's really important never to look at one, right? And that's why we divide it out and we give an overall score. But you kind of have to have a look at all of them, and it's also subjective, because if let's say my demand is really good, and let's say the demand, the profit opportunity, and the capital are all great, right? They all look positive, but the competition opportunity is super low, like it's really competitive. That doesn't mean that it's not an opportunity I won't go into, especially if I have a really cool idea on how I could differentiate the product and just kick ass in the marketplace. Because Amazon again is all about conversion rate. So you're going to get a shot at getting some traffic, and if you can convert that traffic to sales in a better ratio than other competitors, you're going to do well no matter what, right? So you kind of have to all balance it and use this as a basis to start asking the right questions to validate your opportunity.
Awesome.
Okay, so what is and isn't a super niche, right? So what isn't, and I just kind of alluded to this, is this idea of a aluminum water bottle, right? You can see that niche score there. The orange line is the demand. It's through the roof. It's like major demand. But the competition opportunity and the capital, we call it the investment sweet spot. Those are almost zero because it's so competitive. And then obviously profit potential is great. It's again through the roof on the right-hand side. But if I look at that, like that for me is an absolute no-no, right? Because it's just so much demand, so much volume, and just little opportunity to get in, because I don't have the capital and I can't beat the competition. That product there makes over 700,000 a month. Monthly revenue is 204,000, and launch budgets, how we calculate it, is based on 3 months of stock at the velocity of page one. You need $150,000 just to compete, right? So I'm out. That would be a great opportunity in 2014, right? I've been around long enough that 2014, these kind of like double-walled water bottles were coming out and you could get in. What is a potential opportunity if I was in this space and I was like, I really want to get in on water bottles? It's like something like this, right? A foam roller water bottle. So clearly this person's figured out a niche within a niche, a super niche. It's like a targeted audience, that person, that CrossFitter or someone at the gym, and taking 2 product ideas and brought them together, and having that foam roller. This product makes almost 50,000, a decent niche score, and launch budget is around 22,000. So you can get in on these longer tail keywords. You want to target these kind of keywords like foam roller water bottle, because it shows intent, and you can convert on that, and get your sales going. So that's the kind of way that you would look at a niche, and that's all driven by the product and the keyword that you're targeting to really connect the two, so that the buyer who types it in sees your product and wants to buy it. One other quick example would just be like office shelves, right? Office shelves, again, it was like 2014. These are products we looked at and we were like, hey, we could get in and sell them. This product makes 411,000. There's a little bit less competition, but launch budget is 145,000. To me, I just couldn't get in on that, right? But in 2021, it's like hanging macrame wall shelves, another longer tail keyword. It's very descriptive. It's a very specific audience that wants macrame, which is this kind of like knotted, string look and feel, and that could be a really cool specific target that you're looking at, that you could own and you could get in. It's a low launch budget. You're making 6 figures, and that's a great product to start with. That can create a great brand. You launch 4 or 5 of these, and all of a sudden you've got a 7-figure business right there. So that's kind of how to look at 20 old days versus new days, right? And that's how you kind of look at a super niche.
But people, I think, they get a little bit blinded by the fact that they see those big revenue numbers, right? And they think like, hey, I'm going to get in because I can capture some of the big revenue that's there. But essentially that looking at the budgets, looking at how much you have to invest, looking at the time, looking at competition, I mean, that's going up against a lot of risk, right? I mean, trying to go after those big numbers. And so, targeting the lower budget, lower investment value, et cetera, is way more practical. I mean, I understand that completely firsthand.
100%, and everyone asks me like, how would you start on Amazon, right? Like, what would you think of in terms of creating a product? I would be like, I wouldn't be looking at launching one product that's going to make 7 figures for me. I'm going to be looking at launching a brand and looking at launching 3 to 4 to 5 products that will get me to that 7-figure mark. And that's, I look at so many customers and who is successful. The people that have one product that are successful are completely shitting themselves because they're like, I'm going to get undercut. I'm going to lose, there's all my risk is in this one product. They might be stuck there because they're putting all their capital into just keeping that one product going. It's the people that can expand their brand across a few products and have those really solid products with 4 or 5 and potentially different categories. Those are the ones that are really doing well and have a scalable business. And funny enough, in the pandemic times, those are the guys that did really well because maybe one category didn't do that well, but the other ones just exploded. So it's the $1 million product idea are those ones that are doing these kind of numbers on the right. There's the macrame shelves, right? It's if that thing's doing 40,000, you're almost there. You just need one or 2 more, and you're in the 7 figures, right? So that's how I approach it. And then the second thing I do whenever I approach it is think of creating a brand that you can grow beyond Amazon. I think Amazon is a perfect place to launch, but I think it's a platform into other channels, other e-commerce, etc. And so always think of it in that way. This is kind of like your lead magnet to start that relationship, get them to your website and build your brand there. That's really important.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's scary to be all invested in just one product. I know from experience, after going on Shark Tank and then having that experience and then seeing, what was my most popular products and seeing that everyone was funneled towards one thing. I was thinking to myself the entire time, I got to build the brand, because if you don't build the brand, then I'm just going to be, just locked up and, at any given turn, or if somebody doesn't like something or if something comes out with a bad review, then all of a sudden my sales tank and my business is over. Right. So I completely understand.
Yeah. Or the Chinese manufacturer comes and just, does direct and undercuts you, right? So these are all things you have to think about and why it's so important to create what we call a moat, a brand moat, when you're building a business on Amazon. Awesome. So the second thing I wanted to kind of bring up here is my awesome idea. I have this great idea, but is it too big for the USA? And what I mean by too big is or rather, is the USA too big for my product, right? Where it's just so competitive. There's so much there. It's too much capital. With everything that we have today in terms of virtual banks and the ability to open anywhere in the world, is it worthwhile looking at other marketplaces, right? And so when you look at Amazon and what they're doing, this is just, total visits in November 2020 on the left. That's Amazon.com. Right behind, and they're obviously massive, 3 million visits. 3 billion visits. But, the other numbers down here, just to show you, the growth of some of the other marketplaces. And the interesting one is obviously UK, Germany, and then you go down, India is starting to come up. And then even Australia down the bottom, it looks tiny, but if you look on the right, they're the fastest growing Amazon marketplace in the world right now. And they grew from 10 million to 40 million visits, like that, right? It's a significant marketplace right now that we can look at. And just, this is probably the most excited I've been about Amazon in probably the last 3 or 4 years is just what's happening in Amazon Australia and kind of like some of these other emerging markets, because it's almost like going back to Amazon, 2016, when you were looking at products there and you were like, hey, that was a great idea, but now it's just impossible to get in, right? And you can just see these bigger niches. It's not even that super niche. You can get in, and you can just imagine how that thing's going to grow over the next while, and just be great. So,
Don, real quick in terms of thinking about super niche and that last chart that you mentioned, is it in terms of like focusing on the product or focusing on like it? Let me back up a second.
Yeah.
What you talked about with like the water bottles or focusing on things that are not successful here and focusing on super niches, is it still, is it smart to invest in the super niches, or why would you focus on super niches in the emerging markets rather than go into what's the popular items and chase popular items in the foreign markets or emerging markets? Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I think the way that I define it is like super niche and like super niche is like Amazon.com, right? Because you have that amount of traffic. And so you're looking for a very, very specific audience, that, again, like that hanging macrame, shelf or
Yep.
even more detailed than that, because, there's enough volume and there's enough demand there, and you can go for that. When you start to look at some of the emerging markets, especially like Amazon Australia, a product that's doing like $1 million in revenue a month on Amazon.com is doing maybe, and there's 100, competitors on Amazon Australia right now, it's probably doing 20, 30,000 a month. And there's maybe 4 competitors, right? And so what's exciting about that is like you some of these much bigger niches that are impossible to get in on .com, you can get in on Amazon Australia or France or wherever that is, and bide your time. It's a longer play, right? As the growth is happening right now, you saw that with Amazon Australia. That's going to continue more and more as adoption happens in that marketplace. It's not going to cap out at Amazon.com because they don't have that many people. But once the adoption starts getting there, you're getting in and you're essentially staking your ground on some of these bigger categories. Like think about the pet category, as your brands and stuff like that. Like you can go and stake your ground on Amazon Australia and just own that, right? Mm-hmm. Get the reviews, build your moat, be one of the first there. They're going to support you. You're kind of a big fish in a smaller pond, and over the next 4 years, you're going to crush it.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah. Cool. So I'm gonna just jump over into our tool here and just show you. I'll just bring up the Amazon and just show you in a second. Can you see my screen, or maybe I'll make it bigger? Hold on.
Yeah, maybe expand it. Perfect.
Yeah. This is Zonguru just in terms of logging, and we have over 17 different tools right now, and we divide them into kind of product research. Here's all our product research tools. We can jump in and look at any of these once there's questions, but we have kind of cool ones as well, like love hate, which helps you with differentiation, kind of like kind of word clouds, what people love and hate about products, which give you really cool ideas into what connects with them. We have listing optimization, probably some of our most powerful tools here around how to get keywords for the local markets, how to optimize your listing, how to guarantee that you're the most optimized listing on page 1 versus your competitors. Really pretty cool. And we have some business metrics tools. Then we have some ways to kind of monitor and alert, monitor your tools as you scale your business. And then finally, we have like review automation and ways to kind of collect reviews. So these are all the tools. This is our niche rater, a niche finder tool, which will help you to find ideas. But I just wanted to show you, if you're on Amazon, right? One of the tools that we have is like a Chrome extension. So if you're in Chrome, it'll pop up and it will kind of look at the details on the page, right? So I just typed into Amazon.com gaming chair, right? You can see he has all the products. You guys know this was a great idea, probably 3 years ago. You could get in, and I thought it was a great idea, right? I was looking at something like this anyway. So anyway, I've opened up our Chrome extension.
Awesome.
And just to get, along the top, we kind of have that niche rater scoring system and some high level stats. And then we have stats for kind of each of these visuals down here, right? So this little number 1 over here is actually from brand analytics, if anybody knows that. So this will just tell me this is the most clicked on chair right now. Out of all of them that are there, there's probably a number 2 and a number 3. Here's a number 3. So this is the third most clicked on one. It's a kind of a racing chair, right? So anyway, this is a product. And if I look here, again, you're seeing that familiar thing, right? We're seeing the demand through the roof, the revenue potential, which is the profitability through the roof, competition is okay, it's a little bit, but it's still below 50%. So it's still very competitive, and investment sweet spot 0. And then you look at the sales here, right? Monthly revenue 267 on average for page 1, a launch budget of 150,000. And if you look down here, you can see these products are making like over $1 million, right? So there's a few of these, like these guys are all making over $1 million. It's a massive category. I just wouldn't touch this. It's impossible to get in. But then if I go over and look at, so again, right? So that's like, okay, average revenue 267, 150,000 launch budget. If I look at UK, because we're, by the way, so we're the first tool that's integrated fully with across research and our kind of seller tools for all of Europe. So that's Mexico, Canada, and North America. All of the US, all of Europe, and then we have Australia as well. So we're the first there. I'm bringing up now the niche score for the UK, same product, right? Same search, but now you can see the niche score is looking better, right? So there's maybe I can get in on the launch budgets. Competition opportunity is slightly higher at almost 50%. And then you look at sales, monthly revenue of about 30 grand and launch budget of about 25,000 pounds, right? And some of these guys here are making, let's just see, sorry, it's got all, are making, 157,000, 92,000. So, they're kind of high, almost 6 figures a month kind of business, right? So definitely a little bit better. If I go look at France, I've just opened up, I think the search term there is chase gamer, like that's how they would say it. Sorry, I don't speak French, but I had to look up on that. But now it's looking a lot better, right? So 73%, 35,000, 30,000 euro budgets. And there's definitely a few here that are making 6 figures, but a lot of them are a little bit lower. So this could be a potential product to go into. And then if you look at Amazon Australia, this is what I love about this right now is like, if I'm gonna kind of play for the fence here, this is the market I would be looking at, and then expanding beyond here. But I mean, what's interesting when you look at these products, right? They don't even have, like, they've got some gaming chairs, but you keep scrolling down, and all of a sudden they like start to run out of things to put in there. So they just kind of throw other things in here, right? Like headphones. Yeah. They're just trying to give you choice, right? So not only can you get in, but the amount of competition is super, super low, right? There's just not that many people selling it. So, this is like average of 12,000 monthly revenue, launch budget of probably like 20,000. But, and what's interesting is like most of these are just resellers. They're just taking the product from the USA and trying to flip it on the Australian marketplace. They're kind of trying to test it. And FBA, I think there's only one FBA, and he's the one who's making like 22,000, right? This guy here is number one seller. And look, he's the number one seller right now or number one clicked on, right? Because they want to give FBA sellers, the best opportunity to own that marketplace. They want to back you, right? So if you can sell FBA on Amazon Australia right now, I just think you have a major opportunity to do incredibly well, So
John, are you taking something like this, checking what's hot in America, then going to the emerging markets? Is there too many emerging markets to play at one time? Is it focus on, hey, let's go in here, do really well at one emerging market. Once I'm doing well, then pick up. What's kind of the strategy of layering there?
Yeah, I mean, so exactly that. Like, I think there's no answer there, because I think it all depends on the person who's selling, right? So, I would say someone living in Australia, clearly Amazon Australia is a market they should go after, because they also understand the local market dynamics, right? Yep. That's truly important. So, any of my Australian customers, I'm like, go on Amazon.com, find your biggest categories, look at what those are, what has done well on Amazon over the last while, go to Amazon Australia, find the opportunity and just find the manufacturer and just start selling it there, right? Amazon France, again, there's a whole lot of complications that's happening with Europe now with Brexit and everything. So, you have to understand how to navigate that marketplace. But, the biggest tip there is don't ship everything into the UK, expecting them to distribute through Europe. You actually have to ship to the countries now. So, if you want to pick a market there that maybe you speak Spanish or you know the language there, pick that. You understand the culture, go for that. So, or maybe it's closer to your manufacturer. Maybe you have a European manufacturer, so then go for Europe. So I think there's a lot of factors there that you have to build in. And there's 10 marketplaces you'll probably want to look at. So it's not that many where it's overcomplicated. And then obviously if you have like an Indian manufacturer, that's a great market to look at. But again, you probably have to really understand like India right now is consumables. It's probably like necessity products. It's you're not necessarily getting into this. You're getting into like maybe an office chair or something like that, right? So very different experience there, and you've got to do your homework, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then what else did I want to show here? Well, let's go back to this.
So it's really that easy, right? So I'm in the browser, I'm searching on Amazon, I pull up your tool, your web browser tool, extension on the web browser tool, and then immediately right there in my research on Amazon, I can pull up Zonguru and go after it, huh?
Yeah, I mean that process there is about like, hey, what I like to do and what I always say is like get lost a little bit in Amazon, make it fun, right? So just like, stop like trying to validate everything, but just jump in, follow your nose, go through, click on the left-hand side categories, people who bought this, they like this, just jump in and have an Excel sheet or something and just start to put in some ideas that kind of resonate with you. Then go back and kind of like validate them, look on Amazon, pull up the Chrome extension, look at the ideas and validate it. But it's literally there. In an instant, you can see the data. So that's one approach to doing it. The other approach is using our niche finder tool, which I showed you when we just loaded up there, which is like there you can just like put in a category, kind of put in some ranges, hit search, and it's going to return a whole bunch of relevant product ideas. So it kind of brings product ideas to you. You don't have to be like, hey, I want to look at this. I want to look at gaming chairs. Those ideas will just pop up. We can even jump in, and I can show you that in a second. This is how I find ideas. But these, sorry, I think our designer just went a little overboard with the flames. But these products are all like very high 6-7 figure products in the US. These are all great, easy price. I know for sure Coffee Tampers is a 7-figure product on multi 7-figure product on Amazon.com, but you can get in on Australia right now. So, super interesting to me. I think that's kind of what I would look at, in terms of marketplaces and getting into. So that was it. That's kind of what I wanted to cover. We obviously have if anybody wants to look at Zonguru, we can jump in and look at that. But if you go to zonguru.com/webinar lowercase, we have a 50% off deal there. You can jump in, get that. And if you want, we can even throw in kind of a paid for 13-day challenge that we have that will take you through the exact steps of how to find a product, which is getting amazing feedback. I can share that with you as well. But that's that. I mean, we can jump into the tool or take questions or anything else you want to do.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and ask some questions that came our way. If you're in the audience, obviously, feel free to use the Q&A tool or use our chat and go ahead and just message us directly, and I'll be able to read those off to John as well. So the first one coming at you is how much product should you have on hand for customers before you're ready for Amazon?
How much product should you have on hand
for customers before you're ready for Amazon?
Okay, so the way that we look at it, and there's different approaches, right? But the way we look at it is the biggest thing with Amazon is you don't want to go out of stock, right? Because you're building your BSR, your ranking, you've got your launch strategy, you're getting conversion sales, and then it takes off, and you're all of a sudden out of stock, and you're out of stock for a month, right? And then you get back in, and you have to kind of build it back. Typically, Amazon will give you the leeway of one, maybe one kind of out of stock. But after that, if you start stocking out all the time, they're just going to move on to someone else. They've got like 10 other people they can support, right? From an algorithm perspective. So, there's two ways to approach it. One is if you're kind of feeding out a marketplace, you can get like, a significant amount of stock, like maybe it's like 100, 200, 300 units. Obviously it depends on the price points, and kind of test the market. If it sells well, then go to your manufacturer and get a whole bunch more. You're probably going to stock out, but at least you can get some more in and then really stock, right? The other way is the way we prefer it, which is like do your homework, validate your product idea, and then give it a super go. You're not here to play games. You're here to make money and to grow a proper brand, right? So if you do your homework right and you've differentiated your product and you can beat the competition, order enough stock. And the way we calculate it from that launch number that we show is 3 months of stock. So we say, what is the velocity of page one? Let's say they're doing 20 units. Let's say they're doing 10 units a day, right? So that's 10 times 30. So that's 300 units, a month. So you want to get about 900 units so that you can get enough in, stock it, put some, you might have to do kind of FBM first and put some in FBA as well. and then just keep the stock going. And then as your business takes off, you have time to order from your manufacturer, get some more stock and put that in. So typically any from two to 3 months worth of stock is kind of what I look at the velocity of page 1 for those keywords that you're targeting.
Cool. That's very helpful. Next question to send over to you is, how do you reconcile SEO with super niche? Most people likely wouldn't search for super niche products automatically. Does your title differ from your description?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the tool that we use for that is Keywords on Fire and Listing Optimizer. I can just jump in and just high level show you what this does, but let's just take an example here. I'm just in a demo account, but whoever wrote the question, they're right, is that everything that you're doing is keyword driven, right? So the first thing you need to do is you need to find the keywords that people are searching for on Amazon to find your type of product. And there's going to be short tail, kind of higher search volume keywords, but a little bit more generic, like water bottle, right? And then there's going to be longer tail keywords, which are more super niche related, like foam roller, water bottle for the gym, right? And so your job as someone who's SEOing your listing, you need to understand what are some of those higher search volume words that I want to target, or that I need to have anyway because they have the most search volume. But then what are some of those longer tail niche keywords that I know I can absolutely dominate? What are those? And make sure that those are in my listing. Make sure some of them are higher towards my title if I can, because title, bullets, description, back end, right? And then when you run your PPC, what I typically do is I have my main kind of generic account, which has some of the short-term, high-volume keywords, but then I also have, a list of those longer-tail, super niche keywords, and I target that in a manual campaign because I want to drive traffic. Because as I convert for those ones, it kind of creates a halo effect, and it just drives the short-tail, high-volume keywords up, and you rank better on them, and it does really well. So we see that all the time. And the way we do it when we kind of do our listing is we use this listing optimization tool, which it's what's really cool about it in the space is that you can compare up to 8 of your top competitors, and we give them an optimization score based on the SEO, based on the keywords that you've added, where you've added it. And you can easily just kind of look here and be like, hey, how do I actually optimize my listing to actually beat my competitors, and get a higher score than them. I think this score here, I just did this yesterday. This one was 13,000. I did a few optimizations. I got it up to 37,000. So, what allows you to do here is absolutely based on that SEO, strategy, optimize your listing to beat anyone on page 1, which is great. So at least you're going forward with the best potential out of everyone on the page.
Yeah, I think that puts yourself in the best position possible to sell, right? I mean, I think that's
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So another question coming at you is, you're also launching an e-commerce site. What percentage of stock would you recommend dedicating to Amazon versus your website? I think this is a great question. I often struggled with this at the very beginning and trying to think, hey, what should I do, especially if I'm sending a lot of search traffic to my website? How do I look at that in relation to Amazon? So, what's your advice here?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it depends on the product and what you're going to do, and almost like to a degree, the answer is kind of taken out of your hands now, right? Because with Amazon's FBA rules and how much stock you can put in when you're launching a product, you have such minimum numbers anyway that you really have to have a 3PL. So you kind of like really stocking your 3PL. Here's my stock. Okay, I have 1,000 units. And then you're shipping your maximum into FBA, and then obviously you can put whatever you need into or use that system to feed into your Shopify sites or whatever. So you almost like don't even have to answer that question. But and the second piece that is there is like where are you driving most of your traffic to? Because there's one strategy where you're like, hey, I have a Shopify site and I want to drive all of that marketing activity and juice straight to my Amazon store link, because I want all the traffic to go there, because I want to get outside traffic going into Amazon so that Amazon recognizes, hey, this guy's making sales, so I can bump up and get other Amazon specific traffic. That's a really strong strategy, right? Is to get all your traffic going in Amazon to really get volume from all of those sales. And then most importantly, use that as your lead magnet to get the sale on Amazon, and then through your inserts and everything else, drive them to your Shopify site and start your brand there. So they kind of like feed into each other, but it really depends on where you start. So I don't have a specific answer there, but I think it really depends on, where you're driving your traffic to first, what's your product, and what's your 3PL strategy, and how do you tackle that?
And I talk about that a lot, especially when people come to us at Gembah, right? And you're trying to make a product and we're talking through some things and people don't think about their packaging immediately, but that packaging is really key, right? It allows you, if you're going to sell on Amazon, to not only, capture eyeballs once they receive it, but then drive them back to your e-commerce site, which ultimately is going to be more profitable for you than Amazon, right? So I think that's a great point that people don't think about, and how to leverage your packaging in order to drive traffic after purchase, right? And back to your site using discounts to insert on those packaging or other things like that. These are things that we definitely employed, in terms of strategy wise in the pet industry. And I think that's fantastic advice to have. So
yeah, I mean, if anybody's like, hey, what's your ideal product that you want to sell on Amazon? I'd be like, I want to sell a product that I can create a brand of that allows me to add a subscription service onto the back end. And then how I would treat it is I would sell it on Amazon as a lead magnet, get them to my websites, and then sell them other products as a subscription. So now I have a SaaS business on the back end of a product business. And if I can sell that, I'm just going to crush it, right? That's how I do it. So for example, a coffee maker is a perfect lead, or an espresso maker, stovetop espresso maker, right? Do that in Australia right now. You can get in on that product, sell an espresso maker on for the top of the stove or whatever you want there. And that's your lead magnets. Then you give them an insert. Hey, you're a coffee lover. Come to our website. We'll show you how to make it. Whatever. Get them to your website. And now you're all of a sudden saying, hey, we have the best locally sourced beans in Australia, blah, blah, blah. And you sell them a subscription service to coffee. And now you're just crushing it. So that's how I would do Amazon. Yeah. It's
a great idea. That's an awesome idea. Next question, I'll take two more and then we can wrap it up. And if anybody has more questions, if you want to get in touch with John, you can email us over at Gembah at bookanexpert@gmail.com, and we'll get you directly connected with John and his team, and can get some market research and obviously use ZonGuru that way as well. But in addition, obviously you can go to ZonGuru directly. John, I know you had a discount code you said, or you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, so what I was saying is, let me just bring this up. I'll just bring it up on screen so people can see it. But this one right here, so if you guys want to get ZonGuru, it's a 7-day free trial. Just jump in at zonguru.com/webinar. Just do it all lowercase. You can jump in there. You can get a 7-day free trial, try any of the tools. And it is 50% off. So, just jump in and do that. And then if you guys actually jump in and you like what you're seeing, and you're kind of at that stage where you want someone to hold your hand and say, hey, do this every single day. We have a 13-day challenge. It's a $50 value, but if you just, go onto zonguru.com and hit up support and say, hey, John said, give me this for free. The code is final hour. They will get you into the quick start challenge. Once you've signed up with ZonGuru for that 7-day free trial, that extend that, we'll give you that 13-day challenge. And every day you get about 30 minutes of work that you need to do. And after those 13 days, you're going to have a really cool product idea that you can launch, and you will have a manufacturer. We have a tool called Easy Source, so you'll be able to truly find the right kind of manufacturers, that potentially you can work with as well. So, just give that a try. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think always the best way to see anything is through experience. So that's awesome. Yeah. Two more questions. First one: is there a price range default of product categories that goes well in Amazon?
I would say anything right now, the minimum I would look at is over $25. So $25 US, because again, talking about profit potential and margin, you have to have enough money left over, and Amazon takes a third, your cost of goods takes a third, and then you've got a third to work with in terms of building your capital, and just reinvesting that back into the business, right? So, you typically want to be that over $25. You can push it up to $100, maybe more than $100. But if your cost of goods really goes up, you're investing a lot to get enough stock to sell. So obviously the best answer would be if I can sell something for $150 and my cost of goods is $10, right? That's kind of where you want to be. But that's where you need your differentiation skills and guys like Gembah to kind of really help you figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good point. I mean, I think when people come to us, we want them to think outside the box, and take things to a different way. And I know, when we spoke the first time, what really resonated with me from your discussion was differentiation, and that's what at Gembah we believe so highly in. But I think that's, specifically key. Kind of rolling into that same topic, this user's his product doesn't exist yet, which, at Gembah we really love. But it reaches across many markets. Selling out means losing sales and profits. The amount of stock that you, John, you're speaking of, is that just the US market, or is it 100 units for each market, Australia, UK, US, et cetera? How do you kind of think about it across the emerging markets when you're thinking about inventory?
So I think about it as just one market. So I think in any way, if you're approaching selling on Amazon, or what, however you're doing it, you've got to pick your market, right? Because you've got to keep some focus. And I would pick a market, grow that market, and then your strategy is either to say, hey, can I launch another few products in that marketplace? Or hey, I want to stick with this one product and launch that product across other marketplaces. And the reason I say that is because as you launch across marketplaces, your level of complexity around stock, around inventory, and how to manage that in an efficient way becomes pretty serious. You've got to have like your team, you've got to have SOPs, you've got to really understand how to do that, because if you get it wrong when you're selling in multiple marketplaces, your inefficiency and just your cost of goods just destroy your margin, right? So I just look at one marketplace, pick your market, launch, and then your strategy is, hey, launch another market and another market and build from there, or hey, stick with that market and just launch another product, another product, another product.
Awesome. Yeah, I think layering is definitely the way to go. Then, in terms of getting that point plateau, then reaching that next plateau constantly, I think I had an advisor that was telling me that when I first launched my first business is just, you'll maximize your dollars in investment in your business the most that way. I think that's great advice for sure.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and launched the poll for us in terms of Gembah's poll. So if you're interested in somebody from Gembah reaching out to you, go ahead and answer that poll, and we'll have somebody contact you afterwards. But overall, John, this was really helpful. Great spending time with you. I think Zanguru's approach to differentiation in emerging markets, I think, sets you all apart and is an excellent tool for people to use. All those that come through Gembah, we're open to a lot of things. I think it's always interesting to hear of new platforms, hear of new technologies, and we strongly encourage everyone to go out and try those things. Only will help you in the end of the day to see and be abreast to what's out there, especially the new stuff. So John, thank you very much. John Zanguru, as you said, visit their website, gave great discounts, great trials. Really appreciate you being on today, and thanks for all the great advice.
Yeah, no, absolute pleasure. I'd love to come back at some point. And again, we talked about product research, but we can dive in on anything from managing your business to optimization to traffic strategies, to anything along those lines. Happy to jump in. And yeah, if you do reach out, also hit up our support. I mean, we have a really, really great support team who care a lot about you guys and will help you in every way. So if you have questions, just jump on there. Again, if you want that, that 13-day researcher challenge, just say final hour. I haven't told them yet, but I'll jump in and tell them after this to look out for that. And we have a lot of sellers on the team, so they kind of get your problems and they're willing to help you guys. So good luck there, man. Make great products, because that's the fun, and that's what it's all about. So make great products and sell them to awesome people.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Final hour, you can check in on with us every 2 weeks, pretty much. And we'll have another one coming up in May, before the end of May. But look forward to it. And if you're looking to create new products, or you're looking to talk with somebody at Gembah, please feel free to reach out to the poll or contact us directly on gembah.com. And we would be happy to help you share the power of creation. So John, thanks again for today. We really appreciate it, and look forward to touching base in the near future.
Cheers for now. Thanks.
Take care, man.